And now for our purple, or what the color wheel will call violet. You're going to take some of your red, which is our magenta, or what this company calls primary red. And you're going to take some of the blue. I'm going to get it from the other end so I don't get any of that yellow as to taint the color. Try to get equal parts. That may be equal. And let's see what our purple or our violet comes out as. It's looking a little blue, but you kind of want to, when you're mixing, you can use a palette knife. I'm just using a brush. But if it gets clogged up in the brush, you just kind of have to, you know, mash it out. And just make sure you apply pressure at the base of the brush so that you get that pure color that was in there first. Okay, that's looking a little blue, so I might need a little bit of the red, a little bit more of the red. That's looking a little blue-violet. You don't want to use too much color at one time. You want to use as little as you can at first. And remember, acrylic dries quickly. So you kind of have to know what you're doing and what direction you're going in before you start mixing. You don't want to mix any more than what you need for that sitting or for that session. It's looking a little bit more purple. Now, if I add too much red, it's going to get red-violet. But this is still kind of blue to me, so I'm going to add just a little bit more red. And of course, it depends on your palette and what you're painting and where you're trying to go with your color. So that's a little more violet. Now that's about equally red and blue. So I'm pretty much pleased with that. But you did see how it did come out a little bit on the blue-violet side in the beginning, and I added more red. So if it comes out on the red-violet side, add a little bit more blue. So there's your purple or your violet. So while I'm on the purple, I'm going to take the other red that I showed you earlier, and it's a harder, darker red instead of that magenta, to show you what it would look like if you use a redder red. So let's look at the purple. As you can see, there's a big difference between that and your magenta red. And if you're using the magenta for mixing, it doesn't matter. But if you want a red for your canvas or for your palette, then you want to use the red straight out of the tube. So I'm going to take that same blue, and I'm going to show you what that would look like with that harder, darker, redder red. So we're just going to put all that together here. And I'm going to keep it separate over here so you can see the difference in the purples. Same idea though. If it's too blue, add more red. If it's too red, add more blue. But I'm just showing you that's going to be a muddier purple if you use a red instead of that magenta. You can tell the difference already. It's really dark. And even if you put more blue, it's just going to make it darker. It's not going to make it more purple. So it depends on what you're aiming for. I'll even show you more red just to show you. It's just going to make it browner instead of more purple. Even if I add more blue, it's just a muddier, it's a muddier color if you're using a hard red out of the tube instead of that magenta. So when you're mixing for your purples and your oranges, you might want to try a magenta for your red. And I will come back with the orange.